Hello and welcome back to a Fortnight on the Isle where we talk about everything that's been going on my channel for the last couple of weeks and a little bit of other stuff besides. So if you'll remember, if you were around for the last one of these videos, I talked about how I finally had new internet and that I was planning to do a couple tests with it, like streaming or whatever, to see if the upload speed was actually doing what I needed it to do, the reason that I wanted to get the new internet in the first place. Good news is I was able to run a couple of live stream tests on Discord over the last couple weeks. It was fun, everything ran smoothly, so I was very happy about that. Also, the fact that most of the videos that I've uploaded in the last couple weeks now have been up and processed in less than an hour. Like, a couple of them have been completely uploaded and processed before I was even done making the thumbnail afterwards, whereas before, it would take multiple hours after that before even the short videos were done. So that has been incredibly satisfying and incredibly nice. It's just been a really, really great boost to just my morale and my desire to make videos, them being done a lot quicker than they otherwise used to be. But you know what else has been satisfying has been my reading the last couple weeks, so let's talk about that. Bi-weekly reading only has a couple items this week, whereas in past fortnights on the Isle, in fact, most of them have had like a lot of things to talk about. This time I only have a couple of things. I did finish Disquiet Gods, the E-Arc by Christopher Rocchio. Very good book, very, very good book. There's a couple things about it that I'm still like trying to process and trying to work my thoughts over, but I did write 1,400 words worth of notes for my video review of that I'm going to record probably over the next couple of days. And I also wrote a 1,400-ish, maybe 1,500 word review on Goodreads for it that I think is one of my best reviews that I've put on that platform. So yeah, if you want to know my in-detail thoughts, well, my in-depth thoughts without going into spoilers, you can go ahead and check out that review over there. I think it's very good. Like I said, the book was very good, has some really, really bonkers stuff, and I obviously go more in detail on the review. Otherwise, just this morning, I finished reading The Mark of Athena, the third book in Heroes of Olympus, which was one of the books that in memory was one of my favorites of this series. This and the next book, House of Hades, were like the ones that I held in my mind as my two favorites of the series. After reading Rocchio and Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft and Cormac McCarthy and Tolstoy and Philip Chase, coming back to Riordan's prose was an absolute whiplash moment this month, I'll tell you what. So there are aspects of this that I really don't know how to formulate my thoughts on, just because it's so different and felt so weird compared to everything else, just because of, some of its YA tendencies, I suppose I should say, but not that any of that is bad. It was still very good, very enjoyable to read, but I am very curious to see how I'll now feel about the House of Hades when I get to that probably a little bit later this year. And that is all that I did actively read over the last couple weeks. So we'll talk about the bi-weekly writing, where there's a little bit more to update on. I did get 2,500 words added to the Reign of Ash in January. The second outline of the Silent Rain trilogy is now completely done. First one is now just under 17,000 words. The second one is just under 16,000 words. So I hit what does that add up to? 33,000 words between those two. That is actually pretty exciting for me. Now I just got to get started on the third and final outline as soon as possible. I'm hoping that one's going to only take a couple months like the past couple have, but it will be a lot more time consuming and labor intensive this third one will be. But I am looking forward to getting through it. I have a lot of cool stuff in this one. It's probably, when it comes right down to it, it will probably end up being my favorite of the three books when they're all written. So that is something to look forward to, I guess, to have a lot of fun stuff happening with POVs and sort of the structure of it that's a little bit different than the first two. So I'm excited about that. Additionally, I did also write about 11,000 words for blogs in January. One of those was just a short 2,000 word review for the album With or Without by If I Were You. That went up on my second channel, what was that, last week or something like that. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next section. The other two blogs that I wrote were both way lengthier and were a couple things that are going to hopefully come out this month. An album of the year and game of the year video, both for 2023, obviously, because what other year would I be covering in those scripts, I suppose I should say. And speaking of some of that material, let's go ahead and jump right into the coming releases for the channels. On the main channel, I have 5 videos planned for this month. Obviously, on Tuesday, on the 6th, will be my January reading wrap-up and February TBR video, covering everything that I read last month and everything that I plan to read this month, basically. Then on Thursday, on the 8th, will be my top 10 classics I most want to read video. I have several of these top 5, top 10 videos that I got, notes for written for. That was a little bit redundant, but whatever. That I did notes for over the last month. I would say I did a lot of those in December, and there are like 7 or 8 of them that I have planned basically for this year. So not only should those be pretty good for the channel, because top 10s and top 5 videos, stuff like that, always do well on YouTube, but a lot of them are actually videos that are like, yeah, I don't know why I didn't decide to do some of these types of videos earlier, because I've been a little bit reluctant to do some of these, or didn't really come up with the ideas, even though some of these ideas are really basic. Either way, next Sunday will be Short Story Sundays number 3, this time on the story called The Duc de la Omelette by Edgar Allan Poe. I'm sorry if I butchered that title, I probably did, but that will be the next short story that I'll be covering on that series. And if you check out my community tab on this channel, I have probably, by now, the time you're watching this, shared a link for you to be able to read that story for free somewhere online if you have not read it up to this point, so that you can participate and watch that video, because those are all pretty spoiler-filled and analytical in that way. Then next week on Tuesday, the 13th, will be my review for The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan, 4th book in the Wheel of Time. That video is probably going to be a little bit more controversial, I think, than my first few reviews for that series, where I've been very positive. I wasn't quite as hot on The Shadow Rising as I was the 3 books before, which itself is just a generally unpopular opinion, no matter how much I'm able to justify or not justify that opinion. Next Thursday on the 15th will be a bookshelf tour update. I did one of these in March of 2023, doing a bookshelf tour, basically showing you guys what all my shelves look like at that point. And obviously I changed my setup over the time since then. I've acquired a lot more books, but a lot of it is because I've changed my setup, so everything looks very different. So that bookshelf tour is very outdated already, so I will soon be recording a bookshelf tour update for that as of the beginning of 2024, and basically be able to show you guys, hey, this is what my shelves look like right now, and this time I'll actually have space to expand a little bit, since my room's rearranged and I don't have a bed in the way. Either way, next up for the second channel, I already just mentioned this, last week on the 29th, I did do that written scripted album review for With or Without by If I Were You. It was my 6th album review that I've now put up on that channel, that I'm pretty happy with that video overall, especially in that it was very brief and it didn't need to be much longer than it was. Otherwise, the next couple of Fridays, on the 9th and the 16th, will be the next couple parts of my Bioshock Let's Play from 2020. This is probably the only Let's Play from back then that I would actually say maybe is actually worth watching. I'm not entirely sure, because I haven't rewatched any of them myself, and I don't plan to, but episode 6 and 7 will be coming out on the next couple Fridays. Possibly next Monday on the 12th will be my top 10 plus albums and EPs of 2023. We'll see how long it takes me to put the rest of that video together. This one I should be able to get through this week. I was supposed to get it done through the last week, but this last week has been really weird. Been very tired and exhausted the entire time, and had absolutely no desire to work on anything. It felt like the longest week in the world, but also felt like it passed by in, the blink of an eye. I don't know if any of you guys ever had weeks like that, but the last week was like that. So we'll hope that I'll actually get through that video, that script, getting through editing that whole thing this week, so that it can come out next week, because I'll have a lot more time that I need to spend on the Game of the Year video sometime, hopefully late in February. It might even be March, depending on how long it takes to edit that. Either way, as for entertainment talk, I do have a little bit of stuff to talk about here. Like I said, I did test some streaming stuff on Discord, so I played my second run of Signalis on the Survivor difficulty. Doing that, I got the last couple trophies to hit the platinum with it, so that was pretty exciting. And now I'm actually debating going back and doing a couple more runs to get the last couple endings that I haven't quite seen yet. Definitely not this weekend, obviously, as of the time that I'm recording, because I have way too many videos to work on. I'm not sure when I'll have the desire to go back to that at the moment anyway, but that is something that I would actually like to do just for, completionist sake, no other reason than just because I want to see the other couple endings. And I kind of hinted at this. I got like a dozen or more videos to make this weekend. Then I have like 2 months off from the channel basically, and I want to watch some stuff over the next couple months actually, which is a little bit weird to say. So who knows? Maybe I'll get around to some of that. You'll hear more about that in entertainment talk of future Fortnights on the Isle. As for music talk, there's a few things to point out. There were a couple notable singles that released. Bad Omens and Poppy together released a single called VAN, V-A-N, Violence Against Nature, I believe is what that stands for, which is a horribly earwormy catchy song. Like, just the melodies of stuff within that song or just get stuck in my head way too easily. Even I think the song is probably like 2 minutes longer than it needs to be, at least the Spotify version, because apparently that's longer than the YouTube music video version. And another band that I'm a little bit more mixed on over the last few albums, North Lane, released a new single, Miasma. I did not enjoy Dante very much. That single, I don't think I even finished because it's like, it's not really my thing. Miasma, I enjoyed a little bit more. Not entirely sure if their upcoming EP will be my thing, because I think that's what it's going to be as an EP, but who knows? Maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. Otherwise, there are 4 albums that came out over the last couple weeks, or at least since the last time I recorded one of these, that I want to talk about. One of those being the self-titled album by Scarlet Rot, which is a pretty brutal deathcore record. I think Dickie Allen is the vocalist on that, so if you know what projects he's been in previously, you probably understand the kind of style that this is going for. There were a couple fun songs on it, maybe a little bit too heavy for my taste, in that I generally don't enjoy listening to something that's that constantly brutal and heavy the entire way through. I tend to find it a little monotonous. Luckily, it was less than a half hour, so it wasn't too bad. There were a couple great songs on it, though. Caligula's Horse released an album, Charcoal Grace, that I just listened to this morning, that I've heard a lot of other people talking about recently and giving a lot of praise. And I gotta agree, it's pretty good. I think the songs that are generally tend toward a little bit heavier aspects are really good. A couple of the really slow, quiet, soft songs that don't really have a whole lot going on, and then besides repetition, frankly, I think bring down the overall experience. So I think the album's longer than it needs to be because of that, but maybe I just need to give it another listen or two to really get into it. Any Given Day released an album called Limitless, which I was rather surprised by. There was a lot about this record that surprised me, that had a lot of tendencies of classic metalcore, like what they were originally doing in the beginning, that I was surprised by. There were a few songs that really caught me off guard that I don't think really belong on the album, so to speak, but there were a lot of other songs, especially the first few of them, that were like, this is actually really fun, this is really good, like, have I been sleeping on these guys? And they just have some really good songs that come out every once in a while. Enterprise Earth finally also released a new album, Death and Anthology, another album that was about an hour long, similar to Caligula's Horse, that I don't think needed to be quite that long. I think a couple of the songs were kind of wore out their welcome a little bit. There was one song, in fact, that I thought was being repetitive and like repeating ideas from the previous song, but it turned out it was the same song, so it was so long it felt like it wasn't supposed to be. It was kind of an experience. But there are a couple songs on that are actually really good. The last 2 or 3 songs actually are incredible. So, if you're into deathcore, I recommend at least checking it out. It does a lot of really kind of strange and weird things with vocal melodies that I've not really heard in anything else, and especially not deathcore, since, a lot of deathcore fans are going to be people that are like, the instant that clean vocals are included, it's suddenly bad and garbage, because certain people are dumb elitists that way. But I think those people are going to really dislike this album, but I think it's really interesting. It's an interesting take on the style for sure. There were a couple songs, in fact, that kind of melded styles with other bands and other genres in ways that I thought were weird. Like I said, those last few songs even had elements that felt really proggy at times. The second to last song, I think, is half ballad, half smashing deathcore. Like, it is really weird how it's like half and half that way. There's another song that has a lot of tendencies that sound like older Avenged Sevenfold at times. The album includes a lot of like classic era guitar solos on certain songs. It's really a strange amalgamation of just stuff, and I really want to listen to it again now that those last few songs were like, yeah, that's really good. So I'm going to give it another shot. Either way, I think I've been rambling about all of this stuff enough. I don't really have anything else to say, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. But thank you for watching all the way through. If you did, I'll be back, like I said, on Tuesday with my monthly reading wrap-up and TBR. Just like always, I'm rather excited about that one, so I hope you check it out. But I'll see you guys in the next video.